Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back, KGX to the ZTV. It actually feels like a minute. Like it's been a minute since I've done an actual Chelsea video. I think the last video that I did was two videos. Bruno Fernandes video of why he will get Ruben Amorim sacked. Ruben Amorim might get himself sacked. Real talk. And then the video before that, just the EPL roundup, match day 2. Fresh off of that Liverpool Newcastle Monday night game. So go check those videos out. Give them a like. Hit that subscribe. Turn those notifications on. But yeah, let's get into it, man. There's a lot of things to discuss Chelsea related. Obviously, transfer market stuff. We had some movings, some goings on, something to go on. Champions League draw came out today, so we'll take a look at the draw, see how it lands, or see how it how we see it playing out. Yeah, just get into it. We'll save the preview for the Fulham game for the weekend. I think Enzo had a press conference either today, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Either today or tomorrow. Might be tomorrow. For that one, get a status update on Cole Palmer. But yeah, we'll wait on that one. But let's get into. We'll go into the most recent news first, and that's the Champions League draw. Let's take a look at the draw that we got that is just confirmed. All right, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. Apologies, folks. I'm still getting used to StreamYard, still getting used to all this stuff. But who will Chelsea face in the Champions League draw? As you can see up on the screen, European Knights are back. Proper European Knights. No disrespect to the Conference League, but all disrespect to the Conference League. A club like Chelsea Football Club should have never been in it. Manchester United, you will pay for your crimes. Actually, they're kind of paying for their crimes right now, to be honest with you. But proper football is back. Tuesdays, Wednesdays at the Bridge. Away trips for the match-going fans. And there's some good ones on there. So yeah, let's get into it. I think we were drawn into the pot one based off of our European heritage, as Jose Mourinho would like to say, our European pedigree. The only club that has won everything there is to win on the international scene. Special awardee of a nice little commemorative plaque before the Champions League draw kicked off today. Might have to see if I can find a replica version of that. Man cave settings and all. Hang it up. But yeah, let's get into it. So look, fixtures are up on the screen. Who will Chelsea face in the Champions League phase? Kick it off, Barcelona at home. And of course, none of the dates are yet confirmed. These are just the teams that we will be facing. We'll see how the schedule sorts out. We'll probably get an update on the schedule within the next couple of days. We might have placeholders already for, yes, this is a Champions League day or week. But we won't have, all right, we play Barcelona on this particular date. We play Bayern on this particular date. We'll see, because that does play into things a lot. And we're going to see how Maresca manages for competitions. And we saw a little bit of it last year, but let's be honest with us. We had the B squad last year that made it selection issues very easy for him. So we could rest our players, our key players, for the weekend matches in the Prem until we got to the later stages, which of course, by that time, a lot of movings and a lot of shakings had gone in terms of João Felix was out on loan, Disasi was out on loan, Vega was out on loan. So a lot of the folks that were in the B squad last year who played in the early stages of the Conference League didn't really play in the latter stages. So, but yeah, Barcelona at home, Munich away, Benfica at home. So Benfica, again, we play them in the Club World Cup, 3-1 winners. And Nkunku scored. We'll talk about Nkunku in a little bit. Atalanta away, Gasperini. See a proper 5 at the back system. Ajax at home, Napoli away, Paphos at home, David Luiz coming back to the bridge, and Qarabag away. So yeah, definitely some tough fixtures in there. You've got the champions of Spain in Barcelona, the champions of Germany in Bayern. You've got the champions of Italy in Napoli. Um, I'm assuming Karabag is the champions of Azerbaijan. I think the last time we played them was 2015 or 16, maybe 16, 17-ish with like Pedro and those guys. I think we beat them 4-1 at home. I remember it because a name like Karabag is such a unique name that it's one of those names that just stick out. Paphos, I don't believe we have played before. Ajax, we played them in the 1920 campaign when we won it. Lovely. That was an incredible home fixture. Incredible second tie. I think we turned that one around. I think Reece James had a fantastic fixture. Mentioned Benfica. Bayern, I think the last time we played them was in the year after we won in the Champions League. I think in 2021 when they went on to win it, and I think they smoked us 8-2 on aggregate. Barca, I think, man, when was the last time we played Barca in the Champions League? It could have been 2012, 2013 on the way to the final in Munich. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Napoli, we also played Napoli that year. We had an incredible turnaround. I think we lost 3-1 in Naples and then turned it around at home with like a dominating 4-1 display. I think Terry got on the score sheet, Lampard, Drogba, all the big hitters back then. Like I said, Paphos. Atalanta, I can't remember off the top of my head if we've ever played Atalanta before in a competitive fixture. But that'll be a nice away trip. 2 away trips to Serie A. That's going to be nice for those match going fans. Nice stadiums to go to too. Some nice historic grounds. But yeah, 4 home fixtures: Barcelona, Benfica, Ajax, and Paphos. If we're being realistic out of those fixtures, and obviously it's way too early to tell because we still don't know what the squad will look like. But realistically speaking, that should be 3 wins: Paphos, Ajax, and Benfica, and then Barcelona. Point should be taking something from that one. Away trips are definitely going to be tough. Munich, Atalanta, Napoli, Conte will have his team set up well, and then Karabag, we should be winning that. Out of all those teams, I mean, I don't fear any of them. Obviously, Barcelona is the big one on there, given the history that we've had with them in the Champions League, the daylight robbery in 2000, 2008. It's a disgrace. Bayern, like I mentioned before, history there. So definitely away trips are going to be tricky, and they could be compounded depending on where they fall in the schedule. But I'm feeling confident. I mean, we definitely should be getting into the knockout round. I would love to get that first that top 8 sort of, what is called in the US we call it a bye, but to get that top 8 kind of automatic qualification into that next round of the playoffs and the knockout tournament. So we'll see. We'll see. But I really, like I said, I favor ourselves against almost any side in the world right now. I think we've got the depth. I think if we add a couple more pieces, which we'll get into in the transfer window, we'll definitely be in and around it. I told you my goal, and this obviously could change depending on what happens in the rest of the transfer market, but my goal is quarterfinals at least, semifinals, depending on if we strengthen the squad in the key areas, center back, goalkeeper, which we probably won't do, to be honest with you. Get Simmons over the line. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, definitely like that. I had a peek at some of the other English teams' pots, but I haven't really fully delved into them yet. I do see that Napoli and KDB will be making his way back to the Etihad, so that'd be a nice little nice scenes for KDB and all that he's done, and especially since he left on good terms, it should be a nice atmosphere for his homecoming. Trent also going back to Anfield, the complete opposite of everything I said for KDB. You're gonna have absolute scenes and bedlam when he comes back. Real Madrid coming to Anfield. We know the history there. Last time they were there, they batted up Liverpool. So yeah, that'll definitely be a fun one and one to watch. And one, I had a lot of discussions with people, whether it be on panels, whether it be friends in my personal life, about what they think of the new Champions League format. And we weren't in it last year, which kind of hurt me a little bit, because I want to be in the best competitions, competing for the highest honors, competing for all the majors. And for us not to be in it in the first year of its existence in the new format, it didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel right. Like, Champions League and Chelsea go together. Even though we've only won two, um, our sustained dominance and our excellence in that competition. I mean, at one point we had gotten to like 4 or 5, maybe 6 semifinals in a row. It just means more when Chelsea's in it, and you'll hear that not only from Chelsea fans but also from other European other fans as well, even domestic fans. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Can't wait till it starts. Like I said, Tuesday, Wednesdays. It's nothing like that midweek Champions League, seeing the fellas walk out. The anthem is blaring. The overlays are up there. It's an electric feeling, and I'm glad that we're back in it. But let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat what you all think of our draw. Where you see us potentially struggling. Do you see us getting through? Do you see us getting in that top 8 so that we could qualify directly to the knockout rounds? Yeah, just let me know. Let me know your thoughts. All right. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at this little graphic, and this is from, I'll be honest with you, this is from August 21st. This is just a tweet that I had bookmarked. So some of this information and some of these deals have been already settled. Let me just expand that real quick, because I knew there was one name on there that was omitted, which you can now see. But this comes by way of Chelsea Transfer, a good account to follow. They're pretty unbiased. They usually just report on what a lot of the ITKs know. So give them a follow. Always like to shout out this, folks that are doing good stuff for the community. But some of this has changed. Like I mentioned before, this is as of August 21st. So that is exactly a week ago to this time. But I saved it because I just like the nice little format on it. Makes it easy for us to see. And we can just go down through the list and just kind of cross folks off and kind of give an update as to where everything is. So the ins, still no movement on the ins. Xavi Simons, we know that Xavi Simons' deal depends on outgoings. We know over the last day or so that Spurs have expressed interest. We know that they have officially tabled a bid. I think it was around 70 million euros. We know that the player will be in London for the next 48 hours. We know that the player prefers Chelsea and has given his preference to Chelsea Football Club. So Spurs, depending on what you believe in the ITKs that you rock with, some said they have tabled an official bid. Some say that they're waiting on Xavi Simons to okay the bid, right? Because we know that there's two sides to the transfer agreement. There's the side of, yes, we have to make a negotiation with the club, but there's also the side of, you don't even need to do that until you get confirmation from the player that the player is willing to move and that they're okay with whatever the terms of their new proposed contract is. So we don't know, and everything that we've heard so far is that Simmons hasn't agreed personal terms with Spurs. But the rumors, and again, depending on what you might want to believe, is that he may have potentially, or Leipzig may potentially received an offer from Spurs. But we know with all the embarrassment that Spurs have gone through this summer when it comes to the Eze deal, the Morgan Gibbs-White deal, we know that Spurs probably wouldn't submit an offer. And this is my personal opinion and my personal belief, but that if I was Spurs, I wouldn't submit an offer until I got the okay from Xavi Simons. And then once you do get the okay from Xavi Simons, if it's up to them to move quickly, because they know, just like unlike the Eze deal, that if they twiddle their thumbs and they skip a beat, that would get Simmons wrapped up quickly. And also, I almost feel bad a little bit for Simmons, to be honest with you, just from the standpoint of we've been after him for so long this window. We even tried to drum up interest in Fermin Lopez in Barcelona to sort of accelerate the financials with Leipzig. Although Fermin Lopez is an excellent player, an excellent young prospect, I still much would rather have Xabi Simons. I think he's a little bit further along in his development. I think he's a little bit more of what we need in that 10, in that left wide space, or that left 10. But again, I wouldn't turn my nose up at Fermin Lopez at all. Anyways, he'd probably be a little bit cheaper wages, maybe even a little bit cheaper on the transfer front as well. Whether or not he would want to leave Barcelona, that's up to him. You know, he's a Messiah kid, La Masia kid. So, you know, that's out there. Nice backup option to have, just in case the Simmons deal does get hijacked or does fall through. It wouldn't be the best look at all if we allowed Spurs to come in and hijack this. But yeah, it looks like Simmons again is just waiting for us, and that could, like I mentioned before, just depend on whether or not we get outgoings. Garnacho, unfortunately, it won't go away. Although Fab's account must be broken because he hasn't actually tweeted about Garnacho today. With the news that we sold Carney, with the news that we sold and Cuckoo, which we'll talk about, I was super surprised that we didn't wake up this morning to a here we go. Garnacho has been you know, is going to be signed as a Chelsea player. I know we've tabled a bid of 35 million plus 4 to get up to that 40 million valuation that we think is fair. United might be holding out for a little bit more, especially considering what some of the similar type of profiles or similar type of positions have gone for, the Maduekes, the Alangas. Although, in my opinion, all of those players that I just mentioned, Alanga, Madueke, and Buemo, are better than Garnacho. I don't care if he's younger. I don't care if he has more potential. From a talent perspective, from a right now, put him in the team, those players are better than Alejandro Garnacho. But we know it is what it is. We know the directors, sporting directors, Win Stanley, whoever it may be, has a hard on for that kid. And we know that he's given his consent to joining Chelsea and only wants Chelsea. So, you know, fair play to Garnacho for that. He's turned down Bayern Munich, he's turned down Napoli, he's turned down Villa, and he only wants Chelsea, which is a good sign. But it's also, it'd be nice if that was a player that not only the fan base rated, but myself personally wanted, because we know that deal is definitely going to get over the line. So we'll see. I mean, maybe United, you know, they had a little bit of a howler yesterday versus Grimsby. So maybe they woke up today and didn't really have Garnacho and transfer dealings on their mind. Although with a couple days left in the window, they need to either shit or get off the pot when it comes to him. So maybe, you know, maybe they'll, once things settle down over there, looks like they're keeping Amarin, that maybe they'll accept the deal or push back and we submit a new offer or what have you. But or maybe they hold tight and say, you know what, if we sack Amarin and we bring in a manager, because they said that Cunha, they said that Sesko, they said that Embuemo were club signings that could fit under any manager. Maybe they hold on to Garnacho and say, you know what, maybe we give him a chance with the next manager. Maybe the next manager plays with wingers, plays a 4-3-3, and he's a great option to come in off the bench. I don't know. I do not know. I would love it if that were to happen. But personally, I think Garnacho has probably burned his bridges, and we've seen the last of him in a United shirt, right? We've seen him more in an Aston Villa shirt than we have with a United shirt on lately. So we'll see. But let's go down this list of outs. And we'll go down. We'll just go down the list in chronological order, and not talk about different stages and what's done and what's not. So Nicholas Jackson still out there, has still expressed his interest in leaving. I personally think that he would still stay and fight for his spot if a deal were to fall through. But some things have gone on. We know that Villa's interested, but they don't have any money unless they sell a Morgan Rogers or something like that. We know that Newcastle was interested, but it looks like Newcastle is getting that German kid. It looks like around 75 million pounds, or a deal up to 75 million pounds, which is absolutely crazy for a Bundesliga striker, in my opinion. Especially one that is as raw and as young as he is. I mean, he looked a decent kid in the U21s that I saw him play at, and I've seen comps and things like that. But there's no way in the world that you would tell me that he's a better player than Jackson. So we know that Newcastle might be potentially out unless that deal falls through, unless Newcastle gets rejected again. Don't know if that kid's even agreed personal terms, but we know that Bayern Munich is interested in him, but Bayern Munich only wants a loan. So for us, if we could make that a loan with a nice little loan fee, and I've heard around 10 million in loan fees, if we can make that a loan with an obligation to buy, and say we get that total package up to around 70 million pounds, or even like 75, 80 million euros, that would be a lovely deal for us. And I think Jackson would accept that. I think he's already agreed personal terms there. Good. Although I kind of wonder why Bayern would want him, unless they're just looking at a long-term replacement for Kane. But if you're looking at a long-term replacement for Kane and a potential backup, you could probably get one that's a little bit cheaper, and maybe that's why they just want a loan with no obligation to buy. But I think whatever happens with Nico, I think it's going to be on deadline day. I personally think that it'll probably be a loan somewhere with either an obligation or with an option to buy. Allow him to get some time, get his minutes up, get his stats back up, get his confidence back up. He's had a horrible 2025 for him professionally. So we'll see. But if it doesn't fall through, I would love to have him as a third option. With what we played, the system that we played last week versus West Ham with two strikers on the pitch, I think you need if we were to roll with that moving forward, and maybe that's only a result of the Palmer injury, but if we were to move with that going forward, you need a third striker, because that's you're playing with two. You sub guy off, someone, knock on wood, someone gets injured, someone gets suspended. You need another option out there, or else you're going to be forced to playing a Pedro Neto up front, calling up a Shim and throwing them up there to allow him to play after coming up from the U21s and things like that. So I'm of the opinion that if the total package is upwards of 60 million plus, you let him go, because that's too much money to keep onto a third striker for, in my opinion. But if we don't meet that valuation for him, I'd rather him stay than just to go out on a dry loan. This is me personally. Let me know what you think in the comments. And Cuckoo, this deal happened fast, and it just shows you that these cheeky Italian teams aren't as broke as they claim to be, because when push came to shove, they put their checkbook down on the table. Shout out to those folks who are still old and still have checkbooks. Put that money on the table and said, yeah, we want the player. Agreed personal terms with him. We know that he's on like 190K, almost 200K here. So I'm interested to see what his wages are there. But Milan can pay wages. They've got the money. They've got the money for that. He agreed it, and it happened in less than 48 hours, right? Because what we heard was maybe we were trying to use him as a makeshift return to Leipzig, but Leipzig was probably worried about the wages and the contracts and things like that. They're not in Italy. They're not in Italy. Of course, they're not in Italy. They're not in the Champions League. So, although Milan's not in the Champions League as well, but you've got the draw, the Rossoneri, the history, San Siro, the derbies. Serie A is a better league than the Bundesliga. There's a lot of we've got a great not reputation, but we've got a great relationship. That's the right R word. We've got a great reputation, great relationship with Milan, right? Pulisic, Tomori, Loftus-Cheek. We sent Giroud there. So again, forming relationships between us, between Dortmund, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is always nice to have, and it's nice to have those positive things. Not so much for us buying players from there, although we try to get Magnon, but more so of, can we offload some of our, I don't like to call them dead weight because they're people, but some of our unwanted players that Maresca currently doesn't envision in contributing to the squad over there. So, and Cuckoo, wish him all the best. I know he had a sort of a mixed bag here. Injuries, lack of a lockdown position. He's a player that sort of needs a specialized position or specialized formation to get the best out of him. He's not a wide player. He's not a striker. He's more of like an inside forward, can play off the support striker kind of type. But I always liked Christo, always liked Nkuku. I had high hopes for him when he came. Didn't work out. We recouped some of the money. We wish him all the best and hope to see some of those red bubbles, the red balloons popping in the San Siro. I will be catching an eye out because I'm a big fan of Serie A football. I have been since I was a little kid. I love the history of it. I love the stadiums. I love the passion of their fans and things like that. So big up in Cuckoo. Tyreek George, another one that could potentially be heading to Serie A. We've heard the Leipzig rumors and things like that. Leipzig, which would be a good move for him as well. They develop players very well. He'd get playing time there. The Bundesliga is a league that thrives on space, and he's a player that could do well there. But it looks like the main club that is chasing him is Roma. We know Roma was not even flirting with, but they wanted Jadon Sancho, just couldn't agree personal terms with him. Tyreek George is still in sort of like an academy contract, so personal terms with him wouldn't be a problem. For him, the only concern I think for him would kind of be stepping out of his comfort zone. You're being young, going to a completely new country that you don't know the language. But from a footballing perspective, I think he could do well there. He's a player that, if gun to my head, if I had a choice between keeping him or signing Garnacho, it would be Evil Saka every day of the week. I've talked about it before in some of my previous videos. He contributed to the success of our football club last year in limited minutes. Conference League action, fantastic. Premier League action down the stretch when we didn't have a center forward. The Fulham goal. I have nothing but love for Tyreek George. And if that move should go through to Roma, I will be wishing him all the best, and I will be super excited for him just to see his development. The figures I've heard are like 20 to 25 million euros, heavy sell on. So sort of like the same deal that we got for Carney, maybe a little bit less, is what I can sort of envision for him if he does go. And I do believe that Tyreek will go. So hopefully Tyreek gets that move. Hopefully he smashes it there, which I know he will. And we'll definitely see him at some point back in the Premier League because we know English players always like to come back. Anselmo. So Anselmo got his loan move to Dortmund. Again, I talked about building relationships with clubs that are very good at developing players. Milan, Leipzig. Who's it? The other club? Oh, and then Dortmund, of course. So he's getting his chance there. He should get game time. I think the center back that they have, one of their senior center backs, I think is Nicolas Sula, ex-Bayern player. I'm not sure if he even still plays for the German national team, but always injury prone, which part of the reason why it didn't work out for him at Bayern. Is injured now. So went a little bit later in the window, so it's going to be a little bit harder for him to kind of get up to speed. Didn't really play too much in the preseason, but he's a player that definitely needs some minutes at a senior level, at a good level to develop and things like that. So big up Anselmo. I definitely be watching him to see Dortmund's. I'm not sure if Dortmund's in the Champions League this year, but I know they're in European football. So good loan for him. And hopefully it works out. He gets time and develops. Raheem, the Dream Sterling. Look, it's not too much to say about Raheem. We know what the issue is with him. He doesn't want to leave on London. He's on high wages. Personally, I think it'll be another deadline day move for him. I think it'll be Fulham, either via loan and some sort of wage split, or a cheeky little 10 to 15 million. And then, maybe we pay a little 5 million to him so that, they can help cover his wages and stuff like that. But we know there's not a big market for him. Fulham hasn't signed any players yet. They probably could use a wide player, although if I was a Fulham fan, I wouldn't. He'd be one of the last wide players that I'd want. But we know what it is with Sterling. Terrible deal for us. Terrible contract for us. One of the bigger mistakes that this new ownership model has made. But we move and we try to make it right. And we try to recoup a little bit of the money, get those wages off the book, free up a spot. We know that there's no loan spots for clubs within England and within the English model. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on with Raz. Chilwell, same thing. Terrible contract. We extended him when he was hurt. A player that relies on his physical prowess, who's lost it because of injuries and things like that. We know, second half of the season went out on loan to Palace, won an FA Cup. Shout out Chilwell for helping that. But we also know that there aren't too many Premier League sides interested in him. Coventry has been sniffing around. Frank Lampard's there. Maybe a little Chelsea connection. Can you help us out, Frank? We'd super appreciate that. But whatever it happens with him, it'll either be a loan or there's some rumors about a contract termination. So we'll see. We'll see with Chilwell. Again, wish him the best, and he's going to be a player that just wants to play, needs to get his career back on track. It's probably a lost cause for him when it comes to making the World Cup, even if he goes to Coventry and smashes it. Will Tuchel? Well, you don't know. He's got the connection with Tuchel. Tuchel plays wingbacks. The England left back situation isn't the best. You've got Lewis Skelly, who's not really even a traditional left back out there. You've got the ghost of Luke Shaw, who will probably be fit all this year because it's a World Cup year, but he's not a traditional up and down the wing left wing back. Those days are over. So who knows, man? Who knows, Ben? DeSassi, another player that's sort of in the bomb squad, went out on the season, second half of the loan last year, or second half of the season on loan to De Villa. Indifferent loan, wasn't that great. Got us a nice little loan fee. Played out of position, shocker. Looked terrible when he played out of position, shocker. We know Bournemouth has come. Bournemouth lost their entire back four plus their keeper, with the exception of their right back. So we know that they need center backs. We saw them give up 4 on the first day to deliver on the first match to Liverpool, and then got a clean sheet, but they were up a man against Wolves. We've seen some folks come in with a potential loan interest, but we know that we want to make that deal permanent, whatever the solution is. Rumored to be around a 20 to 25 million valuation for him. I would love it if that was the case. I don't think his wages will be a problem. I can't imagine that he's on too high of wages, probably like 70 to 80 grand, which Bournemouth should be able to cover, right? They just put Semenyo on a pretty decent wage just to keep him there. So we'll see. Matos, I haven't seen too much news on him. Same with Gilchrist. If it's either one of those, it'll if they leave, it'll probably be a championship type of move, 5 to 10 million max. But same with Fofana. Fofana's been injured for so long that anywhere that he goes is going to be a big risk for them. Just given his injury history, given his lack of development because of that injury history. But we'll see. And then lastly, Carney. Carney got his move. Dortmund, not the initial fee and transfer fee that we all wanted, given his potential, but you just have to understand and put into context the level and the magnitude that injuries have done to his development in his career. The main thing that I will say with Carney is we know he's got the ability. He just has to stay fit so that he can actually contribute and he can get better. But he got his move, 25 million initial fee, heavy sell-on clause. Goes back to Dortmund where he spent the second half of the season last year on loan. Played, I think, one match in the Club World Cup. We'll see how they integrate and how they use them and things like that. But again, just like I mentioned with Tyreek, he's a player that will probably spend a couple of years out in a foreign league, and then after that will probably make his way back to England at some point. Don't know what kind of wages he was on, because he was on crazy wages for his development, or crazy wages for his age and experience at Chelsea, which probably detracted from a few of his offers and things like that. But we'll see. Wish him the best. We'll keep an eye on him as well. When we watch Dortmund games, we get to see two Chelsea boys in there, in Ancelino and Carney. But yeah, a lot of deals to get done in 3 days. Let me know in the comments what's your confidence level on moving some of these players. Let me know what your projections are. Where do you see some of these players going? Where do you see Nico going? Where do you see Tyreek going? Where do you see Sterling going? And so forth. Let me know what you think of the transfer window so far. Maybe when the window closes, we'll do a transfer review and give it a grade out of 10 and things like that. But yeah, a lot of things happening today. Pull them up on the weekend. We've seen them over the last week or so. Always a tough game. London derby. It's at home though, so it's definitely feeling confident. But yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think about the window. Let me know what you think about these moves, and let me know, what your confidence level is at getting Simmons and Garnacho over the line. Let me know. Aaliyah settings. Also help a brother out. Hit that subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Hit that like button. We're trying to grow the channel. Leave me some comments in there. Let me know what you all would like to see, future videos and things like that. And we will see you at the next one. Peace.